You know what that was? Yeah, the first 5 seconds of one of the best intros in gaming history. Let me show you in the background. Even me talking over it, it is still so magical to watch. The intro is about the perspective of Lady and how she saw the brothers in this story and the legendary fight that happened that day. Even she thought that the brothers of the Sparta family were a myth, but that day she saw it wasn't just a myth but reality. This intro has everything you need as well. It shows you Dante and Virgil and the thirst they have to be better than the other sibling. You have Dante that will always fight for balance in the world and tries to beat as much demons as he can. And you have Virgil, and he is the one that wants to be stronger and have as much power as he can over the demons.
But I discovered that this so-called legend wasn't a myth at all. Sparta existed.
Let's talk about our main characters of Devil May Cry 3. Dante. What can I say about one of the coolest characters in the world? A man with big development over the franchise, but this is the first game if we see it in chronological order. So we see him in the youngest we will ever see him in this game franchise. And that shows. He is very immature and very arrogant in what he does because he knows how strong he is. Nobody is safe of a roast or two like the first real boss Cerberus. He is this big and strong dog that would kill anyone in an instant. But Dante just pretends like he's a little puppy.
Wow. I've never seen a talking mutt before. You know, in a dog show, you'd definitely take first place.
You rubbish! You will make a mockery of me!
Easy, Fido. How about I take you out for a walk? Come on, puppy. Let's go.
You'll regret this, you word!
It's showtime. Come on.
But there are instances where he knows when to stop, even for him. If life is at play, he knows when to be serious. You definitely see this when he is one-on-one with Virgil, calms down and tries to prepare to beat his own brother. He wields his own favorite weapon, the Rebellion, where 2 different faces are printed on. One of the horned demons and the other is a human skull. And 2 personal made handguns called Ebony and Ivory. Overall, he is a half human, half demon that has a job as a demon hunter and like everyone loves to eat a slice of pizza. Virgil. The other sibling, he is way different. He is calm and collected and will calculate every move he does. And again, he is not as fleshed out as Dante. But that's only in this Devil May Cry 3. Now we got the franchise all the way through 5, we know a bit more, so let's put it in short. Virgil got traumatized when he was a child the moment his mom died, and the brothers did split up and lost each other. He felt hopeless and lost because he was all alone now. Several years later, now Devil May Cry 3, and he ever wants to feel this way. So what does he do? He invites his brother to a duel and starts to seek for power. Why? Because if he can beat his brother in duel, he knows he is one of the strongest people / demons in the world. And then he doesn't need to be afraid for being weak. To end it, he wields the Yamato, the other weapon of the family, and he doesn't like guns because he thinks that is cheating, but still has his own summoned swords. Let's talk about our 2 other characters that are less important but still have a significant amount of importance. Lady. One of the characters that later in the franchise is one of the partners of Dante, as in this game, like most her first time appearance, she's a badass that drives a motorcycle and only fights with guns, and her main weapon being a bazooka called the Kalina N. She called the weapon after her mom that got killed by her own father, and at that point she stopped calling herself Mary, her original name by birth. By that point the lady was born and went on a high kill streak of demons. She does well not believe in good demons, so that's why she may never believed in Sparta, until now, because Sparta was one of the first and only powerful demons that could beat everyone, but was at the side of the humans. Alchem. Let's talk about our last character and the reason of all this. He's the one why the Temenigru, the tower, finally back and joins forces with Virgil. He as well is very manipulative and is a big psychopath to tell you. He is the father of Lady and he is the one that sacrificed his own wife. We learn further into the game that he has one other persona called the Jester, and we see him even a few times in this persona. To round it all up, he all does this for himself and doesn't care about others the moment they are useless to him. For him, he just wants to get the legendary Sparta sword and its power and use everyone as a pawn in the process. Now we have finally gone through our favorites and the most important characters. Let's start talking about story. We start with Dante as his office, and this is the first time we meet him as a character. As well, Arkham joins him and he has a message for him about his brother. He invites him at the Temenigru that has been soon will be standing against to release all hell upon earth. Dante doesn't react until Arkham flips the desk and leaves him in an instant. Dante gets ready to fight, but then backcloses his guard to eat a piece of pizza, but then gets surprised by a ton of demons, and we get a epic fight scene. After the epic fight, we have a look outside and there is the big tower, or gate to hell, the Temini group. Just got summoned with of course Virgil on top of the tower. Here we see this, he doesn't care for the weak, because this is what he does with the demon that just fled from Dante to survive the fight. We as well see for the first time Lady in action and a nice little touch to show that we are at mission 3 already. In the end of this mission, Dante has to fight this big dog called Cerberus. Like I already said previously in the video, Dante goes full disrespect mode and taunts the dog as hard as he can. Now the first real boss fight starts, not the Hell Vanguard that you countered in mission 2 that we saw getting obliterated by Virgil as well. And believe it or not, but this is your big moment if you're gonna quit the game or not. I can speak out of experience. When I was much younger, I couldn't beat this boss to save my life, because he is pretty hard for a first boss encounter. It took me a long time to beat him back then, and I was so happy when I finally did. Now of course, as a real veteran of the series, I can pretty much play this game blind, and now I have no problem beating him. But still, after all those years, I still think that it when I encounter him. And to top it all off, after beating each boss you will receive a new weapon. And with Cerberus, that's a Trapetariat Nunchaku. Not the strongest of all weapons that you will get, but it's pretty cool to play with. It's as well the only weapon in the game that you cannot unlock a double jump with. We meet Lady again and then do the most Dante thing you can ever do. Just ride the rocket that just got shot at him. They split it up again and now we are for real in the big tower. We do some puzzling, beat a flying tapeworm that is called the Gigapede, and then we meet the one and only Jester. And here we meet one of the most annoying characters in personality that even Dante is like, you know what, this is even a bit too far for me, man. That man has no respect for Dante, even though he knows what he can do. Even though he is big clown and taunts even harder than Dante, he is still very smart and leaves the moment he knows that he will lose.
Thanks. You still piss me off though.
Next boss, or do I have to say bosses, because two of the demons we see are called Agni and Rudra. Two friendly demons until you want to go through the gate they are guarding. So of course when Dante demands them to let him go through the gate, they start going hostile. The two fight as a perfect duo, where Agni being orange and uses the power of fire, and Rudra the turquoise blade with the power of wind. You will as well have to beat them in a tactical way, because if you don't beat them at the same time, you will have to beat the other with both swords. And one host with both swords is very much stronger than when they were both alive being separated. After beating them, they will let you through the gate, but in condition that Dante keeps the sword, because they think he is worthy enough as a wielder. Dante accepts the offer but tells them to be quiet and doesn't want to hear a word by them anymore.
No talking.
Next we see this before the big Virgil and Dante fight. That Alchem has found Lady in the big tower. She has no respect for her own father anymore after murdering her own mom. After a little fighting, Alchem throws his own daughter off the tower with not a single remorse. But Lady luckily gets caught by Dante, that was a few levels under them. Lady, having as well no respect for Dante being on the path of vengeance, shoots him in the head. Dante doesn't really care and goes to the biggest fight of them all.
Whatever. Do as you please.
Here it is, the fight we all have been waiting for. Dante versus Virgil. Dante being well aware about what Virgil is going to do. He is this visible disappointing his older brother for taking the sides of the demons, and not the humans like him and his father. The brothers start fighting to the death after taking shots at each other. The fight is pretty close, but Virgil catches momentum and overwhelms Dante in a sword clash. But Dante's sword flies away and Virgil gets a free shot at him. Alchem joins the two when the battle ends. Dante tries to not give up, but Virgil is so fast and stabs him one last time, but now with a rebellion. This was definitely not a good idea, because this makes Dante unlock his demon trigger powers. Alchem and Virgil leave the scene, and what happened next, I don't really know how to describe, so let's just watch, you know. Then after all that, man literally gets eaten. If this was intentional or not, we will never know. But what we do know is that after he gets eaten by this Leviathan, the big floating whale, he's like about killing this big thing and starts attacking the heart of the Leviathan. Minutes later, kills it, falls out of the sky, lands somewhere on the side of the tower, and Dante pops out of the left eye of the Leviathan, just fully drenched in blood. And then our beautiful lady is waiting still, really not knowing if she should trust this man, because who the fuck should? So, who's the next boss on the chopping block? We need this blue football, but this beautiful red-haired vampire is defending the ball. Then the vampire starts flirting with Dante, but he isn't interested. Dante takes her out fast and gives a big concert with the weapons she got from her. Now it is time to show those football fans who is the real GOAT. At the same time, Virgil just took down Arkham for the simple reason that he thinks that he isn't useful anymore. But later in the story we will see that was a bad move. Second bad move, Virgil. What the fuck are you doing, bro? Now we have to go for the second ball in the story, and this one is being guarded by a big demon called Beowulf. A very strong demon that will beat single person to a pulp. Dante's first confrontation with the beast Beowulf, and it recognizes the son of Sparta immediately. It has been waiting a while for the revenge on the family, but just like the rest of the demons, it gets beat at last resort. He flees the scene for another chance, but then of course our favorite character, the Jester, is back. He becomes and starts helping us for some reason and tells us what to do and what to look for with this new ball. But the most important that is he snitches where Virgil is and why he needs the amulet that he stole last fight. Before finding Virgil, we find a wild horse, and after beating Dante gets the power to stop time for a few seconds. Now we see Beowulf again being half blinded now and thinks he found Dante again, but this time it is Virgil. He kills Beowulf in a second, and now Virgil got his own new pair of weapons. A few seconds later, Dante finds his brother again, and he's not so happy. A spell to open the door to hell is not working. Dante and Virgil start fighting again, and after a while, Lady joins the fight and wants to beat Virgil and her father as well. Luckily for her, Arkham joins at last the party, but he does that because he had that as planned. He finally shows to the others that he was the Jester too as well. Help and guide Dante to Virgil, so they could start fighting each other, so they are weakened and he becomes the strongest of the bunch. He absolutely starts beating everyone with ease and starts telling why. It's not opening, but it still needs one key to open. The blood of Sparta and the amulet were not enough. And here's where Lady comes in. He hoped that Lady was gonna be there as well, so he could use her blood as last key to open the door to the demon realm. Now the portal is open and everyone is ready to fight again, but it's too late because everyone gets swept by Arkham and by one little swing, and Arkham is ready to become a god.
Just sit and wait. Wait for the birth of a new god. I shall take over the power of Sparta!
We have now entered the endgame, where we go through the full tower for one last time, but that's not important now. Let's end with the last two bosses before we go through the portal and enter hell. So the first boss we still have to beat is Lady. Dante and Lady have a discussion about who is going to beat Arkham. Lady thinks she is the one to do it, but Dante tells her she isn't the only one with family matters in this problem, and tries to explain that she should not go because she wouldn't survive. Of course, he shows this with an epic battle. After the battle they finally agree, and Lady even gives her best and favorite weapon, a bazooka, Kalina N. Then we have our second boss, that is the last in the Teminiguru, the Doppelganger. He is just a shadow version of Dante, and when beating him you get this new style, where you duplicate yourself, and now we can go finally to hell. After going through the portal, we are in this white demon world. I haven't really talked about any small fights, but this one is really cool. You teleport into this one big chessboard, and it works like a real chess game, where you have to beat the king to win. It's pretty simple, but love this fight. It is maybe a bit hard and annoying on the harder difficulties, but that's how Devil May Cry works. So after this, there's this area where you will have to fight some of the bosses that you already have beat. Now Dante has finally arrived to Arkham, and he looks like his father Sparta from back in the day. But then he becomes this ugly big blob thing, and it is only the worst DMC3 boss, but at least it couldn't be as bad as the MC2. Even in the middle of the match, it becomes worse because Virgil joins the match and you take your Devil Trigger and Silo Wheel. But then after defeating him, you see Virgil and Dante do the ultimate combo called Jackpot.
Jackpot.
After that, they jump into the deep after the amulets and the Sword of Sparta. Before the big and last fight, we see Arkham drop in front of Lady, and with no hesitation, Lady shoots her own father and ends their story.
Goodbye, Father. I thought I wasn't gonna cry.
Now it is time for the last and penultimate fight of the game. Here we see Dante and Virgil both full powered and with all their gear. Virgil now have their Yamato, Beowulf and even the Sword of Sparta. His fighting style becomes complete. This time around, Dante and Virgil are putting everything on the line to win. At the end, Dante wins with the last swing of his blade. Virgil doesn't want to accept defeat and tries to throw himself in the depth of hell. Dante tries to help, but Virgil doesn't let him. The end, or is it? Well, this isn't in the game, and it's only shown in a small clip. But after Virgil gets stuck, he sees Mundus and wants to beat him. But this goes sideways, because in Devil May Cry 1 we know that Virgil has been captured and is called Nilo Angelo. So we know for a fact that because he got weakened by fighting and was exhausted, he lost the fight against Mundus here. Let's end it with my overall thoughts. So what do I think about this game? Well, of course, I didn't tell you all this because I hate the game. No, I love this game. And it's still, to this day, one of my favorites. I love the story, you see characters' growth in every single character. Lady hates every sort of demon, even Dante. Then at the end, she actually befriends him and becomes a colleague. Dante even is the reason why she changed her name from Mary to Lady. Dante, like he said himself in the game against Lady, he didn't really care about beating Virgil or being there at the first place. But now he knows that he should be the one that saves humanity. Tries that people to have hope because demons shouldn't be able to run around freely in the human world. Virgil was never really the bad guy in the story. In the first fight, it looks like he knew it wasn't fair enough against Dante and was actually waiting until he released Dante's Devil Trigger. In the second fight, it was definitely a fight to the death, but realized something the moment he knew Arkham had played them all. The third fight had definitely Dante didn't want to kill Virgil anymore, but wanted to save him from himself. But we really won't know what Virgil ever would have done if he was the one to win that fight. But something tells me that he was not gonna kill Dante. But I can of course be 100% wrong, because in 5 we see that he doesn't want to be a human anymore, until his human side V takes over again and joins Urizen. and realizes that he was completely wrong in what he did and just wanted to be with his brother at his side. And now we have our ultimate villain, and this is Arkham. Maybe the persona with the least progression, but this is because he doesn't realize. Even at the last scene we see him, he says this.
What have I done wrong? Even heroic Sparta sacrificed a woman so that he could become a legend. I wish to be a god! And I sacrificed one miserable human being for that reason. That is all. Was that really so awful? I have some unfinished business to take care of.
My thoughts about the bosses, they are all pretty good. Of course, the Arkham fight is the only bad fight in the game. I would definitely say my top 3 of bosses is something like number 1 must be Virgil. It is everyone's number 1. I'm gonna take all 3 fights as the first, because otherwise there are no other bosses in this top 3. Number 2 goes to Cerberus, because he is just so memorable and just one of my favorite first bosses. Number 3 will be a hard one, but I will go for Beowulf, because he has this cool design and pretty hard to beat and gives you the strongest weapon there is. So did you like this game? Do you have good memory of this game? And what is your top 3 bosses? And goodbye.